understand.
She just smiled and held my hand.
How's it going, Mrs. Elfman?
Um,
I'm going to say
don't
something.
say anything about me during sex or anything. Nothing. Don't do it. Or I'll come at you. I'll come at you with some shit you do not want on this podcast.
I'm in good shape. I'm fine. I should.
Yes, you are.
I should count my lucky stars that you're
Yes,
still with
you
me.
fucking should.
Giving it to me at all.
Jesus Christ! After 25 years,
I know.
Don't complain about like a calculator being off when you get it like minimally 4 times a month.
And then afterwards, we were all getting dressed for the day.
3 minutes later.
Well, it was longer than three, but clearly it was long enough for you to finish. All I saw was my night just going away. So
Like your penis with little wings flying away.
it was an erect penis just kind of like flying away.
Because you have stupid friends.
You treat them with disdain.
I'm friend quality control.
Got it. Okay. I got it. So they have to go through friend quality control, get the look of disdain from you as you come into the room, and then they have to have a moment where they feel horrible about themselves, have a realization about how horrible they are, and then after they've taken a long walk and had a bit of a problem in their life, they come back and have a realization about it. But thankfully, Jenna was there to set it all straight.
You are annoying with my girlfriends.
In which way?
You don't let us be girls. He insists on barging into every fucking thing we do. My bachelorette party.
It's so much fun. Girls are so much fun. They're so cute, and they're always like willing to hang out and chat with me. They're so nice to me. I love hanging out with your girlfriends.
Why don't we just adopt a Korean? Korean. Korean.
Where's the rewind button on this podcast? Where's the politically correct pause button? So you had fed our kids rice cakes for dinner with butter, 5 of them in a row, and then proceeded to brag about what a pleasurable experience this was for you when you were a kid. You know, when I would stay at my sister's house, I'd have rice cakes and butter, and it made me feel really good. And me going, okay, just shut up, Bodhi. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just shut up. Cut to this morning.
It's a thing I do. I look at you.
My wife on the phone with the doctor because my kid is having appendicitis type pains, and they're wondering, like, what's his diet been like? And Jenna's eyes on the phone.
She goes, well, let's see. So she's ruling out.
Jenna's eyes on the phone. It's like, well, what did they eat last night? And Jenna's like, and she's trying to sound all casual about it, like rice cakes and butter, but like that's all they had. If you're
just plugged into the socket on this one, didn't we?
You're gonna eat 25 fucking rice cakes for dinner, which has been your modus operandi the last 12 nights in a row. Mm-hmm. Don't stand at the fucking counter like this and eat them because there's rice cakes everywhere.
Usually the dog eats them.
You've trained your kids to now just eat nothing but rice cakes, and they walk around eating rice cakes, and all there is there's rice cakes everywhere. In my bed, on the floor, and there's rice cakes everywhere. It looks like literally we make rice cakes. Okay, it's not a big deal. As it came out of my mouth, didn't hold the weight that it was in my head. So here's what happened. I'm gonna say it.
Oh, it didn't happen.
We were making love a couple days ago.
I didn't have. I didn't say that.
Let me say what I heard you say. And we were making love, and you finished first again. And as soon as you were done, you went, "Okay, now you."
No, I didn't.
You went, "Okay, now you."
No, I didn't, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Jenna.
It didn't happen.
If you keep telling yourself that, is it going to make it better?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Caitlin Becker and Jenna and Bodhi Elfman.
I literally have no idea where to go from that intro.
This is really exciting because she kind of divorced me on the way here, so it's great to do a great show about marriages and how great they are when I think the ride here pretty much ended it.
Okay, I have heard this song and dance on your podcast before.
Yeah.
How often do you almost divorce each other? I mean, you've been together for 20-some years.
26 years.
26 years. That's really impressive.
And then if you're both in the entertainment industry, that's times 7, right? So that's like dog.
Yeah, it's dog years
That's
if you're
dog
in
years.
Hollywood. Yeah. Well, it ebbs and flows, because it's like the stock market relationships. So it ebbs and flows. So then there's weeks where it's about every third day. I'm like, nope, that's it.
I'm very bullish.
That's
bullish.
it.
I really feel like this is it's gonna stay.
So what'd you do this time?
The route here. Do you guys get
was
in
a whole
arguments
morning leading
about
up to the car
driving?
ride, though.
With the spout, like the routes there and how to get there, and shutting up when she's sure she knows how to get there. I actually,
They have apps for that, guys.
yeah.
Oh, no.
No, because
No?
I get in trouble for listening to it, and I get in
no.
trouble from deviating from it.
He always questions Waze, the app Waze.
You guys know the app Waze.
I love
Yeah.
Waze.
Yeah.
We all got here using Waze.
Yeah, I'm a
You can tell 'cause everybody
devoted
drives like
follower of Waze. And I like that it tells me when I'm going to arrive. And then I feel like as soon as I start making turns off the route, I'm late. And so I'm like, just stick to the route. It makes you cross 4 lanes of traffic without a light. Oh, well, just
Here's the thing,
stick to
Caitlin.
Waze. And
Here's the
then
thing,
he
Caitlin.
won't let it
Waze
control
has a
him.
default in its system. It does that fucking left and right thing.
Yeah.
Just
that's
to
a
go
little
like
annoying.
3 blocks, it makes you make 7 or 8 left or rights. And I think in my head, I don't need to make 7 or 8 left and rights. I know how to fucking get where I'm going. I look at Waze, I get the general idea, and then I get there. She's a stickler for details, so I've got to make all the left and rights for her.
I'm a good rule follower.
Yeah, okay.
And
Good.
he's not so much.
Good.
He has to question everything.
But to answer your question, never really divorced. Never thought about it. Never.
I've totally thought about it.
No,
what do
you
you mean you've
haven't.
never thought about
No, you
it?
haven't. It's
You
you're
kidding me? You've
PR
never thought about We've
baloney.
talked about it. You're a liar.
to a greater or lesser degree.
No,
never
though, there's
divorced.
full moments where we've been like,
Yeah, I guess.
so
there
what
was-
would this look like? Like, let's just look at it. We
When-
had those conversations.
When we had kids, it got like a little heavy. That happens.
She giggles. And she giggles.
For him, he was like, I'm feeling like a cooped up, caged animal. And I
Meanwhile,
just
you
wanna,
grew
like,
the baby and got it out.
totes.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I'm
And
not
he got
gonna.
laid plenty while I was pregnant, too. Like, I don't know what he's complaining about.
Look at this shit-eating grin he has on his face, too.
Yeah, it's kind of true. That's true.
You guys speak about this with such levity. So, I mean, obviously, anyone who's listening to the podcast or is even listening to you guys talk right now, sure, every relationship ebbs and flows like the stock market, but you guys always seem to come back to a point of happiness and laughter. How do you get back there?
We just keep talking. We talk and we overtalk. Like, we're talkers. But I would think it's, and laughter. Like, we don't take it too seriously because life's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Relationships are ridiculous and awesome. And you just have to keep laughing at it and not take it too seriously, I think.
I guess I have two
That's my
thoughts.
earnest answer.
Number one, she's like my best friend in the world. So being my best friend in the world. No, I don't mean that in like an awe way. She actually is. Like I can tell.
Oh, it's okay.
It's
That
okay.
evoked an
But you
emotional
not like
response.
not in an awe way. You can say awe. I just mean she is my best buddy. So I can tell her anything. I like being with her many times more than some of my buddies. Like she's a fun person to be around. So I've
You
always
like being with me more than your buddies like being with me, or more than your buddies like being with their
I like being with you as much as my buddies like being. with
Oh.
Well, look at her.
you. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. So she's my best friend, so I like that aspect. I mean, that I've always enjoyed being with her, but also I married like way, way up, right? So all I have to do is just not fuck up. Like, just don't fuck the nanny and I'm going to be fine. Just don't do anything really stupid. Because
the secret to marriage, guys,
seems
right
to be
there.
a lot of nanny fucking out there lately, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of
A lot of celebrity dudes just fucking the nannies.
That's like an old trope. We've been seeing that for...
Yeah, but it's reappeared. It's reared its ugly nanny head again, hasn't it?
nanny gonna get ya.
Rewind for me.
Yeah.
So let's go back. What caused you guys to actually create the podcast? Because this has been up and running since
Been a few years,
2012,
but it was
right?
really hit and miss. Like we were, because of the reason it started, which we'll go into, it was kind of whenever we could, and it wasn't ever meant to be an entity in itself. So people would ask us, wow, you've been together so long. How do you do it? And we get asked that a lot just because we're like a unicorn in Hollywood by staying together this long. And we say like kicking and screaming, really, you know,
Right.
and we have a TV show we want to do that and to show marriage in the way we really conceive it to be. And that we don't feel that it's been shown on TV yet. It's usually shown like multi-camera, you know, silly, or like, oh my God, marriage and kids and
Where's the fun? of it?
Tony and Carmela Soprano.
So
that's
yeah,
your-
there's like
those are your options.
There's an in between there where it has the whole panoply of emotions and colors and humor and joy and annoyance, everything. And then I kept taking network shows. Right when we get close to making it, I'm like, but they just offered me this show, and that's good. Let's just not taking our show as seriously as we could. So I just keep taking network shows. So he said, you know what? Let's why don't we do a podcast where we keep this kind of discussion and creative, scenario going for ourselves, and it'll be like a library for writers of our show ultimately. And that's how it started. He was like, I Love Lucy started as a radio show.
And it's not so much us, it's just the idea of long-term relationships. Where you're with your partner for so long, whether it's any kind of relationship, you're just with your partner for so long, you become friends and there becomes an energy to the unit. And it's ridiculous, it's terrifying, it's frustrating, and then funny and lovely all at the same time. And those subjects to me are interested in. I like delving in that world, and so we do our podcast really just because it's fun to dive into the subject of long-term relationships. I think it's easy to have a hit or miss and fly-by-night relationship, but to stick it out and to figure it out and find a way to keep it going, that's interesting to me.
In the macro sense,
Yeah.
yes, I see what you're saying, but this is very much you. This is your lives and your relationship, and what do you decide? It seems like nothing is off limits.
Nothing.
I mean, mostly nothing's off limits. We keep the jokes about our kids funny jokes, but we don't get into stuff with them in personal detail too much.
I have heard quite a story about how one of your children wipes. So,
You're stuck in an airport.
I'll have you
and-
know that
yes.
she tried to edit that out, though.
no.
And I wouldn't let her.
Yeah,
It was
because
too great of a story.
He said it's too funny. I'm like, but he's so sensitive about his pride
He's a
on
little one.
learning. He's
He's not
just
20.
turned 6 and yeah. And he gets very, like I'm peeking in through the crack in the stall in the bathroom airport, like, bud, come on, we gotta get, like, we're about to miss our flight. And he's like, he's like, got like
Reams of toilet
reams
paper.
of toilet paper with like poop marks because he doesn't quite figure. And I'm like sitting there going, "Oh my God, but you want me to help you, buddy?" And he's like, "No, Mom, I can do it." So he had all this pride, and so I just didn't want to embarrass him by having it in the podcast, but it just came out and we were talking. It was part of the
insisted.
story, and so
I just
left
thought it was
in.
too great, and I'm sure that he'll go through the ages of 12 to 18 where he'll hate me, and then at 19 or 20 he'll laugh again.
I think of all the content on the
One would
podcast.
hope.
The poop story is not what's going to scar them later in
No,
life.
it's not.
The lovely details of your sex life, however.
They shouldn't watch it. That would be a horror.
I think boys don't want to hear about.
They
the
don't want to hear
moms
about
and
it.
No, they want to think they were immaculately conceived.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't let them watch the podcast. The only podcast we let them watch is we did one with them. The 50th podcast, we put them in, and it's all obviously G-rated because they're with us. And so they got to watch that. But they don't get to watch the podcast, obviously.
And we did one fun creative opening with a song that they're in, and we let them watch just the opening. But
Yeah.
they know. I'm like, nope, turning it off now. They're like, come on. I'm like, nope,
They get it.
It's adult stuff. They're like, okay.
They get it.
How do you pick your topics? It seems like based on the ones that I've listened to, which if you guys have not listened to it, try not to do it when you're driving somewhere serious because I missed a bunch of turns. Today I missed a bunch of turns trying to pronounce paper towel because I was listening to your Mathematics of Sex one where you
Yeah.
just totally went off on a tangent about how your guest pronounces words. And I was like, how do I pronounce paper towel? And then I missed my turn. So just focus when you're listening or watching.
And don't have kids around.
Don't have
And
kids
definitely
around.
Don't watch with the kids.
Don't drive it when like we're taking the kids to school
Soccer
or
practice or anything
nothing
like that. Yeah.
It's just sometimes the topics are, they seem a little more sort of abstract,
Yeah.
where you're talking about sort of a larger issue about relationships. And then other times, like your asshole rant, you're just ranting about what's going on that
I don't
day. How
tell
do you
her.
pick?
I pick the topic, and because she's so much fun to play. Like for me, it's really greedy and selfish what I'm doing. I just love hanging out and making my wife laugh. And I found a way to make commerce and making my wife laugh go into the same category.
Which is how we started on the Sprite commercial.
Right. So I think of kind of what's either annoying me or what I think could be a fun thing for her to engage in, and I won't say anything. And I'll
I just make sure he has something. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You got
what
something?
do you want to talk about? I'm like doing my hair in the bathroom, doing my makeup, getting ready to shoot the podcast. And I'm like, do we know what we're talking about? He's like, I got a couple things.
and then I
I'm like,
lob
okay.
her the softball.
And
she
we
hits
don't
it.
know, we don't write it, we don't edit it. We
There's
don't
no writing, no
re-record,
editing.
no-
It's just us.
we just
straight
roll
through.
camera.
Although a couple of times, once I upset her so much in the middle of the podcast, she started to cry, and
We had to pause,
we
go
had
have
to
a
cut,
fight in the bathroom.
have a fight in the bathroom, and then come
He
back.
put the
and
dog on the counter. And we filmed the dog with his voiceover going, Bodhi's a total asshole, and we're having a fight right now, but they'll be back soon.
That was the most real it got. We've had real stuff, always real stuff, but that was the most real where I was like,
Like,
oh,
it wasn't
shit.
fully worked out yet.
No, like it's like you say something, it's happening, and then I was like, I see the tears welling up, and I was like, oh shit.
I'm, like, turning my
she does a
face
thing
away
where
from
she's
camera, like-
trying to go off camera a little bit, and I went, oh shit, she's fucking crying. And I
you're being
wanted
an
to die.
asshole.
Yeah, I was being an asshole, and I wanted to die, so we cut the camera. Other than that, we just go straight through.
But it was kind of interesting. This whole podcast has been really therapeutic for us because it's, you know, we both obviously have a sense of humor, and that's really what's been our friendship is our sense of humor. And we have moments of getting way too serious too in life, and usually the other one will have to be like, all right, let's get out of that, you know, seriousness. But it's like, it gets us talking. And after that podcast, it was something that needed to be handled with us. And we had a major like evolution in our relationship after that one.
Yeah.
Like something had just needed to break.
There's a therapeutic value to it.
Yeah,
for fun.
for us, just selfishly, it's fun
Yeah,
for us.
but maybe other people get something out of it too.
It's interesting. There are times when you're listening and you guys are having a great time and you can hear that moment where something pivots from a joke to something a little more serious.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, you know, when you're out to dinner with a group of friends and one of those couples starts to get into this, first they're laughing and then they're kind of bickering and then
Yeah.
they're actually bickering. And
You're
you
really uncomfortable and
you
taking
do,
a sip
and-
of your
Horrible.
and you don't want to look, but you also I'm married only a little over a year, but so I'm always so curious as how other couples work their shit out.
Right.
And you're just inviting us in to sort of witness that between you. Do you ever worry? Do you ever think twice? I mean, like, I don't know how comfortable I would be because I feel like I'd be an asshole in those situations.
Absolutely. We've had friends say, I don't know how you do that, and that they couldn't do what we do. But remember, I mean,
But
we're,
when you say worry, sorry, honey, what do you
we're at
what do you
26
mean?
years.
I think I'd be scared to let someone else watch me
In that vulnerable
state,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I
and
think
you
we
just invite us
know-
in.
There's like areas I'm not a complete idiot about where I go like, don't get into there. Like, don't make that left turn. That would be just stupid. And I'm sure she must have the same thing.
I
Although,
haven't withheld much.
although she kind of just
kind of
tromps on my shit left and right. But yes, yeah, here's me. So she tromps on my.
We
There's
do
areas.
it knowing we do this podcast knowing that we're putting ourselves forward, you know. But I think we feel because we're best friends, we kind of have this good foundation that we can weather any storm
It really is. It's
because
just best
we
friends.
are such good friends. You know, we have a dialogue for navigating our life together.
We couldn't do it after. I mean, 26 years, right? So it probably took a long time to get to the point where these things became humorous, as opposed to these things becoming personal or can't go there. Yeah. So after a while, you're kind of like,
Goes through a lot in
fuck
26
it.
years.
Yeah.
You know,
It-
we've
but-
weathered many storms.
But some
Yeah.
of it sounds like things that just continuously happen in a relationship. I mean, you guys talk a lot about how you have a yin and yang relationship, and
Yeah.
I feel like I have that with my husband. We're very, fundamentally similar, but very, very opposite in
Yes.
so many ways. So I relate a lot to the things that you guys say and the issues that you have. And I've only been married, like I said, a little over a year. So it's
Right.
almost like these issues just keep on reinventing themselves throughout your
Yes.
26 years
And,
or however long.
and she's a very dominant, strong woman. So she had to make sure she totally castrated me completely to make the yin and yang fit.
I didn't used to be as forthright.
Castrating. Castrating.
I don't know. I feel like you taught me how to be that way.
How to castrate me? I taught you how to
I feel like you
castrate me?
handed me the tools.
I gave you-
showed me how to,
I gave you the surgical
the
implements,
string.
showed you
Yeah.
how to cut the nuts off.
And then I was like, oh, you mean like this? Cool. Did I do it right? I feel like I used to be more because you were so like you're
You
very
come from a very she comes from a very conservative family, and so I'm come from a family of artists and hippies and
he was
loud,
raised in the middle of Hollywood.
loud hippie Jews. So the idea of you just say whatever, and I think that probably
I think you taught me how to be that way more. So I was like, oh, you're gonna do it. I'll speak up.
right.
And then I felt like I had to speak up because you were always being a little bullyish. So then I had to like raise my game
Yeah, I agree.
to like
And you did.
put my like stake in the earth.
Put your
Like,
stake. To put your
"Nuh-uh."
stake in my balls.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a bit of an obsession with the castration thing.
Sorry, it's just hard when
It's
they're
just front and
they
center
keep
for
trying to
him.
grow back, and she keeps taking them away at the roots.
Now I'm thinking about your balls, and that's so uncomfortable with someone that you just met. My God.
Proverbial balls.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
Bringing it up,
For real,
hun.
who knows?
You know, in the upcoming podcast that'll come out next on the weekend, we have his mom on, and you can kind of see who raised him. And it's fun because I'm asking her all kinds of questions. But she's a rebel hippie, you know, and artist, and she's a complete contrarian 100%. So he had a contrarian example set for him growing up. So his kind of natural response to rules or supposed to's is to be a contrarian. I was raised like, follow the rules, be a good girl, you know? So it's like super opposite. And so sometimes I'm trying to get him to follow the rules, and then, you know, there's times where he's wanting me to break free, and that's where we run into some tension. Is I want him to be more of a rule follower, and he wants me to not give a fuck so much.
But you said something interesting about the yin and yang. A lot of people think in a relationship they have to have a lot in common. And I've heard many people say, like, I want to fall in love with someone that I have a lot in common with. The interesting thing is we don't have a lot in common. Like, our overall maybe mores about how we see life and treating people and living kind of a clean life where we contribute and make the world better. I know that's the same, but the day-to-day life, we don't have a lot in common.
If you were to like write it on paper, like on Match.com, they would not put us.
It would not put us together.
And middle of a Venn diagram.
But that's important,
there.
right? Because that's 26 years. And so I know that's baloney. That thing about having a lot in common. I mean, it could be true or not
It's
true,
nice
but
to
I wouldn't
share
hold
interests, but we.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like Van Halen, Depeche Mode. I mean, Van Halen, Def Leppard, you know, and he was like Susie and the Banshees and the Pixie
That is.
Sticks or whatever that band.
Yeah, that's right. You guys love the Pixie Sticks. Remember them? The Pixie Sticks? Amazing band from the 80s.
I think we're going to open it up to some questions.
All right, no one
guys.
be afraid. Hey,
So on the podcast, you rehash old arguments. Do you find that after the camera's cut, it can open up new arguments, or has enough time passed where it's cathartic?
I think it opens up new stuff, and I love that you asked that, because there was a couple times where what got into in the podcast brought out stuff that we probably weren't getting to in our relationship, and then it came out from the joke of the podcast, right? Because it's just having fun. But then from that, some other stuff came up, and you have to get to those things in a relationship, right? Otherwise, they just sort of fester. But that's a great question.
One of the topics that you guys often get to in the podcast is sex.
Yeah.
You poor thing. I just feel like you are like a walk-in 15-year-old hard-on all the time. And you just have to deal with that.
That's your PR. That's your reputation.
Now, first of all, I'm not embarrassed about that.
Not
I'm
at all,
quite
clearly.
proud. Now, let me ask you a question. You're just at the year mark in your relationship, right?
Year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half. So everything
I recross my legs.
So everything is at the same sort of level, right?
Right.
I would bet it would be safe to say that there'll be a point in the relationship where you would have an interest that goes into other things, and he will have interest that goes into many things, but that interest on sex would be consistent. Would you say that's a fair thing to say?
For him or both of them?
For him, because that often happens with men.
Probably, actually, I think it would be me.
You think you're going to stay like,
Yeah.
well, okay, well, we'll come back and
See you in 15 years.
come back in a couple
to
years
talk
and
about
see if
this
that holds
again.
true.
Knock out some kids.
I have a feeling that
And then all of your entire existence of attention goes over here. And then you kind of get to a point where you're like, you're a grown up. You can take care of yourself because I'm needed over here.
Yeah.
And then he's like, me. I'm still here.
in that voice too, like a whiny
Yeah,
little.
that's all.
Like a
Well,
whiny
and there's
horse.
nothing that gets you in the mood quite like that.
She loves
whiny
it when I
voice.
act like a whiny little person.
That's what it feels like. So.
Do we have more questions out here?
I love you guys can ask us anything,
Yeah.
by the way.
Go
Hi.
for it.
We love talking about it.
I was wondering, how do you find the right balance between marriage, kids, and career when working in entertainment?
Ooh,
I'll answer this.
yeah, you go for it.
Okay, so I recently had an epiphany because I spent the first several years of my kids, I was an overwhelmed person, for sure. And then one day I was like, you know what? I don't like feeling overwhelmed. This is not becoming, of me. And so I got to sort this out. And so I kind of like wrote down all the areas that I do just to like get it out of my head, So I was like, okay, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an actress, I'm a humanitarian. Okay, these are all the things I have to do and my career. And so then it became, and I was feeling like a dilettante, like I was just jack of all, where you're just kind of doing a little bit, but not mastering anything, which is like, to me, just death as an artist. And so I kind of had this realization that my life is like an equalizing board, for sound mixers and all that kind of thing, right? And there's sort of like that mid-level. And I realized no beautiful symphony has all those dials all the way up at the same time. And so I kind of went, okay, I figured out what my median sort of line of survival is. And then I just do my best to keep all of those knobs. Because anytime I'm on set filming, I'm not with my kids. And when I'm with my kids, I'm like not working on myself as an artist. When I'm working on myself as an artist, I'm not with my kids or with my husband. So I went, okay, here's the median. Like they can't go below this because then I'm like getting into where I'm not mastering anything. So then I just work to try and like keep everything, because they're always going to be a compromise and a sacrifice, and just keep them all kind of above that. And so that's like my point of reference of navigating on my weekly schedule.
I cheated because what I did is I just went, how can I have everything at once? And so I just invent art that involves my family. That's
he's good at that.
I
think I have more to go on that. I think I have more growth to do on that.
I'll invent anything that puts my kids or my wife in it. Like I love as corny as it sounds, but the idea of the old Ozzy and Harriet show, where it was a real husband and wife with their 3 real kids, their actual kids. That blows me out of the water. I love that idea. Like I want to create with my kids all day. I want to make musicals with my kids. You watch the Marx Brothers. There was 5 brothers that all worked together before there was the original, the 3 that made it famous. But 5 brothers worked together their entire lives in vaudeville, then in films, and then when it was the 3 famous one, the other 2, one was a manager, one was a lawyer. Like, it's the family. I love the old family tradition of being together. If I was a shoemaker, I'd have everyone
like
gather around
business.
the shoes. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I want the family business. I want my kids with me. I want my wife with me. I want to be on set with them. I want all of us to be together.
I need to surrender more to that because I really love that. And I think I was raised with parents who were working and thing. And I think I always think that me being able to work in this industry is such a privilege, and instead of like making it including everything, I think because I used to be like, I'd protest you doing that, trying to do that, because I was like, he's just like trying to get out of doing work, and then I realized
there could be a little of that too, but
no, but it's like you're including all of the areas of your life and trying to make them survive together. I think that's actually really beautiful.
Yeah,
and that inspires
I want to do a mom and pop business basically, but in the entertainment industry. Like it's that. That's what I want.
I think that's cool.
I think it is also a beautiful sentiment. It's hard to picture Ozzy and Harriet talking about you accidentally sticking it in, trying to stick it in her butt at night.
Wait.
When you're like missing it when your aim is off.
That's
I can't imagine that.
Don't you think he'd know?
Don't you think that she should clarify what that was about? That's where sometimes I think she changes the location of it.
Not to any woman who has been those holes. I've been like, not that one.
I've never tried to do
and
that.
I'll be like lower, and he's like lower. I'm like. And this one goes higher. I'm like, no, not higher, lower.
I don't know if it's the Earth's gravitational pull or the sun, but I swear to God, sometimes the location changes. And
I think you're just so excited.
I swear to God, I think I know where. I know where it's going. All of a sudden, I'm off by an inch, and if you're off by an inch, you're fucked.
Or not.
Or not.
You're not at that
right.
point.
So yeah, never intentionally.
I think you're just so excited.
Which is great after 26 years for you to be that
you're
excited.
So excited when it's happening. You just
like a confused monkey. Just like
you're just like get it in there.
She gave me a Beavis laugh on it too.
Well, that's actually pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
That's your inner voice.
Yeah, it is. Beavis is my inner voice. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions?
Well, thanks for letting me follow a whole topic about anal.
Well,
her though, right?
Okay,
her.
it's
I
not
know you
anal,
both went there
it's
too, so-
accidental.
Accidental.
Yeah.
But it's not really accidental anal because it never gets to be because she stops it anyways.
Because I punch him in the face.
Jenna, I have to say, I've been a fan of a lot of your stuff
Of
for a long
accidental
time.
anal
At
for a
the
long
same
time?
time, though, I'm sorry, he's right. Fuck ways.
Fuck
Sorry,
ways.
the worst thing ever.
worst.
I've beat it myself too, and it never says, "Oh, sorry, you were right."
That's right. Well done to you.
But with the two of you, I just wonder, when do you have a schedule that you tape your podcasts and stuff, that you record
Yes.
this, though?
Yes.
So you never just impromptu, just like, oh, you know what? No, let's save this for the show and let's run downstairs and do it now?
Needs a cameraman, and that's a great
film
question.
it now, so we have lights that we do and a cameraman.
It's not a big deal, but it requires getting my little group of guys that come together and help me out. So it can never be just on the fly.
But we make notes. Like something's happening, we're like, oh my God, this is a good podcast. We just sort of make a note of it. You know.
Yeah. We film it every weekend and it gets released every Sunday night or Monday morning. So yeah, it's a regular thing now, which will be interesting because she's moving to Vancouver. She's moving to Vancouver.
Is this what
to
you've
shoot
been
her TV show?
hinting at recently? Big things happening. Big things. You might
Yes.
not be
She
here
has
for
an
a little
ABC
while.
brand new
You really
ABC
toy
show.
with us with that.
I
kind of
know.
information.
Sorry. It's because I think we say that because it's affecting what's happening in the story of the podcast for that day. So we have to acknowledge it, but we're not ready to share it yet. So yeah, I have a new show coming to ABC called Imaginary Mary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a really funny show, you guys. It's a total family show. Like you can watch it with the kids. It's
Some
great.
edge. It's got some edge.
Kids with
Rachel Dratch. It's the first time ever on network TV to have a CGI character with live action. And so Rachel Dratch does the voice of this imaginary friend that I have from childhood that comes back named Mary. And it'll be mid-season on ABC. But we're going to film it in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So we're going and I'm just bringing the entire Elfman clan. We're just going to continue.
It doesn't
our life
matter
there.
that I also have a career here in LA and that I act. She's not so.
That's what the airlines are for.
You know, she's not
motherfucker.
so concerned about that part.
And will you podcast from Vancouver?
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna have to.
We're going to have to, but we don't know but we have to figure that out.
Figure it out.
Go.
Yeah,
That's
my,
your job.
That's my job.
So logistics. You're on logistics.
I'm on
Yeah.
logistics.
I have
You're
to make
you put the guy who can't find that on logistics.
No, believe me. This
Maybe
morning
Waze will
was-
tell you how to
I
get
have
there.
the general area.
Yeah. I just have to make the space that we film it in look good, and then he has to figure out getting it done. And we have to
Right.
figure that out. That's one of our things we have to figure
Because
out.
you added a visual aspect to the podcast. Not a lot of podcasts are visual. And it's interesting, we were talking a little bit earlier about how many people watch versus listen.
Do you guys, have any of you guys seen videoed podcasts yet? It's not many of them, right? There's a couple of them. I think there's some sports and
But they're mainly
car
just
and-
sitting there chatting. It's not like there's a high aesthetic value to the visual yet, right? For them? Yeah, we do like a whole thing.
We're trying to make it something that's watchable. And at first, some of the people that we were working with said that a videoed podcast is cool, but most people will just listen, and that the numbers will be like 80-20 listening against watching, and it's the opposite. Most people want to watch.
We're like our fans are 65% about watching,
Yeah.
and the less is listening.
I mean, why not, right? She's a cutie.
right.
I have a face made for radio, so they somehow get through that.
He's really trying to get it in later. He's really trying to.
Accidental? No.
I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here
Thank you.
today. Bodhi and Jenna. And of course, if you guys haven't seen or heard, which you should, download the podcast. It comes out every Monday.
Well, if
Every
you
Sunday.
subscribe on iTunes, you're the first to get it every Sunday night.
And Nerdist.
You can watch it or listen to it. We're on Nerdist Podcast Network as well.
Yep. Just your podcast app on your iPhone. That's where I get
Kicking
mine.
and Screaming, and you can find us at Kicking Elfman on all of the social media, at Kicking Elfman.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys all for being
Thank
here.
you guys.